The Dallas Cowboys just changed everything. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Dallas Cowboys news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Dallas Cowboys key player who suffered a major injury after a controversial win over the Detroit Lions. Dallas Cowboys left guard Tyler Smith suffered a full tear of the plantar fascia in his left foot in Saturday night's win against the Detroit Lions, but there is a chance he could play in the regular season finale against the Washington Commanders next week, according to a source. Smith suffered the injury in the third quarter and immediately grabbed for his foot. He was able to walk to the medical tent without assistance but did not return to the game. He remained on the sidelines for the rest of the game. An MRI on Sunday confirmed the full tear. After the game, Smith said he felt he could have returned to the game because he had not lost strength. A partial tear is sometimes considered worse than a full tear and can keep a player out for a few weeks. Smith was replaced by undrafted rookie TJ Bass. If Smith can't play, Bass would start. But the Cowboys have also dealt with injuries to left tackle Tyron Smith, back, and right guard Zach Martin, quadriceps, over the past few weeks. Smith, a first-round pick in 2022, missed the first 2 games of the season with a hamstring strain, but has been perhaps the Cowboys' best offensive lineman this season. The Cowboys will enter the final week of the season with a chance to win the NFC East. They need to beat Washington in the season finale while the Philadelphia Eagles lose one of their last 2 games. If that happens, the Cowboys would host at least 1 playoff game at AT&T Stadium, and they would have an outside shot at the number 1 seed in the NFC. There was a moment on Saturday when the Detroit Lions celebrated as if they had stolen victory against the Dallas Cowboys in the game's dying seconds, hailing Taylor Decker's apparently successful 2-point conversion attempt before they were called back by the referees for a penalty on Detroit for an ineligible man in the field. The Lions' second attempt was derailed by a Micah Parsons offside, the third attempt was unsuccessful, and the Dallas Cowboys survived the late controversy to take a narrow 20-19 victory. Detroit had been down 20-13 with less than 2 minutes to go, but Jared Goff and the Lions' offense marched down the field, capped off with an 11-yard Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown. We get down there, get the touchdown, and get the 2-point conversion, and yeah, it sucks, Goff told reporters per NFL.com. It's unfortunate, man. I don't know if I've had this feeling before where you feel like you won, but you didn't. After the game, the controversy continued as referee Brad Allen said in a pool report with Dallas Morning News' Calvin Watkins that Decker had not reported as an eligible receiver while Dan Skipper, a backup offensive tackle, had reported. Decker said afterwards, per NFL.com, that he did exactly what coach told me to do and went to the ref, said report. The Cowboys' victory ensured they went undefeated at home this season and extended their winning streak at the AT&T Stadium to 16 games. Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb had a career day, finishing with 13 receptions for 227 yards and a touchdown, setting a new franchise single-season record in both receptions and receiving yards. His record-breaking game was capped by an electrifying 92-yard touchdown as quarterback Dak Prescott evaded a sack in his own end zone before throwing it way downfield for Lamb, who beat the defense and jogged in from more than 50 yards out. "I really don't know where to start," Lamb said after the game, according to ESPN. "Shout out to the defense for bailing us out. I told y'all I'd enjoy it more if we won, and we did." Both teams have already clinched their playoff spots, and the Lions have wrapped up a first division title in 30 years too, while the Cowboys can still win the NFC East division if the Philadelphia Eagles lose at least once in their final 2 games. The Lions finish their regular season against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 18, while the Cowboys take on the Washington Commanders. The second story is Lamb breaks Irvin's Cowboys single-season marks for most yards. CeeDee Lamb set the Dallas Cowboys record for catches in a season with a 4-yard reception in the second quarter from Dak Prescott. In the third quarter, he set the team record for most receiving yards in the season. It just so happens the previous record holder for both marks, Michael Irvin, who set them in 1995, was in attendance at AT&T Stadium for the Jimmy Johnson Ring of Honor ceremony. "It's a real moment for me," Lamb said after the Cowboys' 20-19 win against the Detroit Lions. "Shout out to my guys. We continue to work, Continue to build, continue to grow. I mean, it showed. I wouldn't be able to do any of this without them, and we're looking forward to keeping that going. Lamb finished with 13 receptions for 227 yards and a touchdown versus the Lions to give him 122 catches for 1,751 yards and 11 touchdowns on the season. Irvin had 111 catches for 1,603 yards in 1995, the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. Lamb's 92-yard touchdown catch tied Irvin's mark, but unfortunately for Lamb, he fumbled through the Lions' end zone for a touchback on his record breaker. "Hate fumbling," Lamb said. Lamb's 92-yard touchdown reception on the Cowboys' second possession of the game gave Dallas a 7-3 lead. The Lions should have sacked Dak Prescott near the goal line, but a blitzing Derek Barnes missed the quarterback, who then floated to his right. Seeing Lamb break free, Prescott lofted a deep pass that Lamb ran under, all while Lions cornerback Kindle Vildor was slipping. Lamb caught the ball at midfield and was able to walk into the end zone. It was the third longest offensive play from scrimmage in Cowboys history. "Shout out Dak for using his legs," Lamb said. "I just did what I could, stayed available for him. He just gave me an opportunity, and I took it." The only longer plays in team history are the 99-yard touchdown run by Tony Dorsett in 1983 against the Minnesota Vikings, in which Dallas had just 10 players on the field, and a 95-yard touchdown pass from Don Meredith to Bob Hayes in 1966 against the Washington Redskins. Lamb recorded his fifth game of his career with at least 150 receiving yards, which is third most in Cowboys history. A team record 4 have come this season. Irvin holds the team mark with 10 total, followed by Hayes with 7. Lamb has also scored a touchdown in 8 straight games. His 227 yards were the fourth most receiving yards in a game by a Cowboy, and 168 of those yards came on third down, the most by any receiver since 2003. "Remarkable," Prescott said of Lamb. "That's who CeeDee Lamb is. He can do it all, and he's continuing to get better, wants to get better, hungry to get better, hungry for the ball, has one of the most hungriest mindsets that I've been around in this game of football, and it's fun. Obviously, we have a similar mindset. We want the ball in our hands. I can definitely understand and relate. Makes it easy, makes my job easy, and he's special. He's really just getting going. I can tell you as long as I'm here, he will probably stack these records each and every year, to be honest with you, so this is only the beginning." After giving up a drastic 266 yards on the ground in a loss to Buffalo 2 weeks ago, the Cowboys' defense has rebounded in the absence of Jonathan Hankins by allowing just 216 yards in the 2 games since against 2 top-5 rushing teams in the NFL. The credit can largely be attributed to the Cowboys' defensive ends, namely DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, for containing the edges and not letting Lions running backs. David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs find continued success outside the tackles on Saturday night. As a result, the Cowboys' defense as a whole has been able to limit offensive success and stack solid defensive drives. "That's what it's really about, getting back on track," Lawrence said in the locker room post-game. "With a win, the confidence grows." The third story is Cowboys survived the Lions, but there are still questions about the offense. CeeDee Lamb had a spectacular game on his way to setting Cowboys records for receptions and yards in a season. Dak Prescott threw for 345 yards and 2 touchdowns. And still, the Cowboys enter the final week of the regular season with some nagging questions about their offense. This wasn't the focal point in the aftermath of a thrilling 20-19 win over the Detroit Lions. On a night when the long-running feud between Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson was put aside with the coach's induction into the Ring of Honor, the Cowboys came from behind in the fourth quarter to keep their hope of winning the NFC East alive. It was the team's 11th victory of the season, and a significant one. A loss would have been the third straight for Dallas, something this team hasn't done since it stumbled around in a pandemic days in Mike McCarthy's first season. It would have dulled the confidence and optimism the Cowboys have worked so hard to build over the previous 3 months heading into the postseason. "It's huge," Prescott said. "Huge, especially coming off the last 2. Being able to pull this one out was important for us to understanding this is what playoff football is about." It also allowed the Cowboys to complete a spotless 8-0 home record. That has only happened twice before in franchise history, the last coming 42 years ago. Whether or not the Cowboys play another game at AT&T Stadium this season remains in question. But again, quite an accomplishment as the team ends the regular season on the road next weekend against Washington. Obviously, we play well at home, McCarthy said. We love playing at home, but being on the road these last couple of weeks, we'll be ready for whatever comes our way. The offense rose to the occasion in some key moments Saturday night, but a group that averaged 39.9 points at home in their first 7 games entered the final period with just 10 points. That fell in line with a current trend. Dallas has now averaged just 16.7 points in its last 3 games. It's averaged the same amount of first downs and has gone 16 of 36, 444%, on third down conversions. First downs were a struggle for us, and McCarthy said, "I can't tell you how many second and longs we had. That's because the run game gave the Cowboys next to nothing. Tony Pollard consistently found himself stopped at or behind the line of scrimmage when McCarthy did call a first down run. Dallas finished with just 61 yards rushing on 21 carries for a paltry 2.9-yard average. The team has averaged just 82.3 yards on the ground the last 3 games. The running game was clearly not the highlight of our performance tonight," McCarthy said. "They really overloaded the front. We had some pull schemes to get to the C gap, but the pressure, the overload defense, was a challenge for us." The Cowboys won because the defense and Lamb, with 13 catches for 227 yards and a touchdown, came up big when needed. It survived because Detroit coach Dan Campbell made some aggressive yet highly questionable calls. Early in the game when the Lions were in the end zone, and late with a cavalcade of 2-point attempts in the final seconds. Dallas overcame its struggles because Prescott bounced out of tackle in the end zone in the first quarter, which would have resulted in a safety and hit Lamb for a 92-yard touchdown, the second longest pass play in franchise history. He added an 8-yard touchdown pass to Brandon Cooks in the fourth. "Dak is such a competitor," McCarthy said. "That's how he always is, to be honest with you. He just keeps playing. It's a huge strength of his. So is winning a close game, something the Cowboys haven't had a lot of this season. We need these games to be battle-tested and get ready to go into playoffs," McCarthy said. "These are the type of games where character is enhanced. Now the team must wait to see what Philadelphia does on Sunday against Arizona before heading into the final week of the regular season. Whatever happens, that final game for both teams will determine the division. It's clear what's in front of us," McCarthy said. "Philadelphia has 2 left. We have 1. We'll see how it shakes out."